Okay. Hi there, it's me, Bluelunacat. Now I'm making good on a promise I made back in July. So, in July, if you haven't heard, I was demoing needle felting during the Renaissance Fair. Well, I'm here today to actually talk about needle felting. Now, we're not getting to the tutorial in this video. This video is just talking about, well, what you get when you get a needle felting kit, and so you know what to look for. So, number one, when you get when you get a needle felting kit, it always comes with needles, which are, well, they have little necks in it. I don't know if you can see in the camera. Come on, camera, focus. There we go. Well, maybe. Yeah. So this needle is very, very sharp. It has these nicks. That is your tool. Get off my desk. I don't need you stabbing your cute little paw. So that's your tool. Now the material you work with is a fiber. Usually wool from a sheep. So this is actually from one of the little starter kits. So this particular kit comes with pink wool, also known as wool roving, a little bit of white, brown, and tan. This one in particular also comes with an instruction kit for making this creature. We're not doing the narwhal, but it's a good kit to essentially talk about that. Let me get this back put away before the cats try to run away with my wool again. Yes, the cats love wool. Now, the other thing you usually need is something to protect your area and, well, your needle. That usually comes in the form of foam or a wool buddy. So this foam, it's just dense, cheap foam. So when you stab through the fiber, aka the wool, a lot of times you go through it. You want something to catch that needle when it goes through. Now, when I first started, foam blocks weren't that common. What was more common was a wool buddy. And all this is just condensed wool fiber. And as you can tell, this one's pretty well loved. But when I first started, I actually started with a stinky old pillow. That pillow has died a long time ago. But essentially, I had it on my lap and just kept that to protect needle, my legs, and the table. Though with the pillow, it was mostly for my lap. The other thing they usually come with are little leather guards. Why? Because you're working with really, really sharp needles. Now, they're very useful if you're starting out and worried about stabbing yourself. For me, on the other hand, I found I kept getting in the way. So I didn't even have these when I first started. Now, if you get some of the bigger kits, they actually give you handles. So, looks like this. And it has a secondary piece. What you do is you take your needle and you slip in. Notice one side's bigger than the other. You push the smaller side in and it makes it easier to hold on to the needle. It can be handy, it can also get in the way, depending on personal preference. The nice thing about this is if you flip your needle around, a lot of times you can start your needle in it. So very useful for protecting your needle that way. So, hey, no rolling away from me. Now some of the other kits come with a multi-needle tool. These are fun, and you're probably going to see me using this a little more than the single needle on the channel, but that's because when we actually get to the needle felting tutorials, I'm going to make my projects a little bigger than normal, so you can actually see what I'm doing. But how this works is it has a lot of slots. It's designed to hold multiple needles. I can just slip the needles in through the little holes. No, I'm not speeding this up. I am going to include every little bit so people actually realize how long this honestly takes. And you see how this has a screw? There's also a screw in the center. Close that up. Voila! Multi-needle. Very painful to get stabbed by, but good when you're working with several projects. Well, not several, but several large projects. But this doesn't have a fancy way of storing the needles. So I will put these back in their tube here. Now, something that I didn't really encounter till this year are stencils, which are handy depending on what you're making. So, they're just little foam shapes with cutouts in them. So you can do it based off of these guys. We'll get into more detail on that in an actual tutorial. Oh, here's another example of one of the foam blocks. As you can tell, this one's also been used quite a bit. So those are what usually come in the kits. What I definitely also recommend is always have a first aid kit. I don't care how long you do needle felting, you're going to stab yourself. And you're going to bleed a little bit. It is not fun getting blood on your project. It sucks because it's very hard to wash these. In fact, I have yet to ever wash them. So, if you're going to do needle felting, keep a mini kit nearby. And the band-aids you actually want is the little pinprick ones. I know I actually have it in this kit, but I have standard band-aids because I usually do big cuts in my hand. Now, the main needles I use are these German-made precise felting needles. So, what's different between these versus these ones is the material. So the ones that usually come with the kit are pretty flimsy and cheap. They will break. These ones are steel. They don't break as easily. I think I maybe broke one with one of the steel ones, but yeah. So, always have lots of needles on hand because depending on what you're doing, you may break them. Now, some examples of things I've made with needle felting. Let's move my head to the side here. These are some of my past projects. So a Yule goat, a little cat, a fox, and this was probably my best project, this rabbit, made for a special needs girl. Other things I have made with needle felting is my little sea serpent. Oh, the little fox again. This was one of my first ones that actually survived. Made it during a D&D game at a friend's house. This was my experiment with a skeleton. So this has a pipe cleaner in it. That allows it to basically curve around and bend, especially in that tail. It's one of my demo projects. That's actually why right here's gotten thin over the years. This is made using a combination of various fibers. The white's wool, and the brown's actually alpaca. So very soft. And I used plastic eyes on this one. This was a keychain made using one of the stencils. Just a standard wool pumpkin. And then, one of my favorites, mostly because I get to brag about it, a goat made out of Pygora goat fiber. So I actually had a herd. I have only 2 goats left, and they're ancient. They could basically, age will catch up to them at any point in time. But essentially, on the inside, it has a thicker fiber. On the outside, it has a softer fiber. And the eyes are wool that were felted in. So, I'm probably not going to go into detail on the process of gathering fiber, cleaning fiber, and all that, unless you guys really want to know. But yeah, I have worked from getting it off the animal, i.e. shearing or brushing, depending on the type of fiber, because yeah, Pygoras can produce 3 types. Again, we'll get into more detail on that if you guys want, but not in this video. This one is just showing the tools. Also, in the description below, I will include my favorite all-around kit and my favorite needles. I will also probably include a link to a wool buddy, because this is a lifesaver. But I'm doing this video just as an overarching introduction. Now, my next one, I'll actually show how to do the needle felting, but this is so you have a basic idea. Another thing that's good to have, embroidery needles. These are basically sewing needles. Just typical sewing needles, but they got a big hole, so you can use thicker thread. Yes, I use some sewing in my projects, depending on what I'm doing. Using a combination of sewing and needle felting works really well together. Right. The other thing a lot of these kits come with, and I forgot to get out, is shears. So these are actually for trimming your project when you're done. Just helps it look cleaner. If you notice, some of these are a little fluffy. Yeah, this one's a good example, where the fiber's kind of sticking up. That's where this comes in. And it's specifically just for trimming around. No, this art is very, very messy at times. Whenever you work with a fiber art, it's messy. So, yeah. Trying to think. Yeah, I think that about covers this basics. Again, next video, I'll actually start with a tutorial on needle felting. The idea is we're going to make a Korok from Sonic Frontiers. This is my prototype. I'm going to make one much bigger for the videos so you guys can actually see things, but yeah. This I kind of whipped together in a couple of hours just so I could make sure I knew what I was doing. So. But the one I'll do on channel will be a lot bigger. Again, you guys are going to need to be able to see. Seeing is important, and well, my little projects aren't exactly that visible. That's why I said I'll start with a single, but move on to a multi. So, hope I see you in next one. Till then, be safe, and let me know what you think. Bye!